We're making our way now towards, not onto the river, towards the river. The river doesn't really start until Lakeshore Drive, and the river used to start even further west, closer to Michigan Avenue, because the lake used to go to about Michigan. That's why it's called Michigan Avenue. But originally, when people were first settling in the area, when the Native Americans were the only ones here, a lot of this up front here was just swampland. The whole area was basically a prairie marsh originally. So most of these buildings are sitting on what used to be swamp. Because after the Great Chicago Fire of 1871, we lost about 18,000 buildings and didn't have anywhere to put the rubble except for that big gross swamp. So we pushed it out into the lake, created 152 acres of artificial lakefront. Downtown east of Michigan,
wow.
technically landfill. Beautiful. Landfill, Grant Park, Millennium Park, still a dump though. And that leads to the first building I'll tell you about. The building is not a dump. I know how that sounds. I'm working on a better transition. But the curvy black building on our right, that is Lake Point Tower. An experimental 1930s design from Ludwig Mies van der Rohe, very influential German architect, one of the pioneers of modernism, function over form. What a building does is more important than what it looks like. He coined the phrase less is more. Didn't agree with the foofy ornamentation we were seeing in the 30s, which is an interesting point. This was built in the 60s, not the 30s, designed in the 30s, and originally intended for Berlin, Germany. But if you know your history, not a great time to be building in Germany. So the idea sat until his student Shipwright and Heinrich found it, thought it was super cool, wanted to build it here, 3 times taller, and illegally. Sort of. Anyway, there was a part in the Chicago Charter originally that said no private building shall rest on the land east of Lakeshore Drive, thanks to Montgomery Ward. And Lake Point Tower knew that, started building anyway. Confronted by the city, Lake Point's lawyers argued it's not land, it's landfill. Those are good lawyers, right? I might have to use them for my first divorce. Don't tell my boyfriend he hasn't proposed yet. But when we head underneath Lakeshore Drive, I always like to take a step back here and turn around, not just to wave at people, because they'll wave, but I also like to be back and turn around because this is not only one of the best, but really one of the most unique views of our city. Only way you can get it is on a boat, so let's all enjoy it together. Oh God, the sun, I forgot about the sun. All right, there's a lot to talk about, I'm wasting time. Okay, we're going to go ahead to the left a little bit. You'll see some construction. Look past that construction. The tall white building with vertical stripes there. That is the Aon Center, 3rd tallest in Chicago, formerly the Amoco or Standard Oil building for the grown-ups. When it was first built in 1973, it was covered in beautiful Carrara marble imported from Italy, very expensive. To save money, they cut the marble thin, too thin. Hot Chicago summers, cold Chicago winters. It was expanding and contracting at an accelerated rate, becoming brittle and falling off the building.
Wow.
Quite a headache for the folks below. So they tore down the marble, put up North Carolina granite that adorns the building today at the cost of $1 million per floor.
Oh my God.
83 stories. Just goes to show, never take your marble for granted. I'm sorry.
That's good.
I'll make it up to you though, because there's marble here on our right. This is Centennial Fountain, built in 1989, 100th anniversary of the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District. Folks who reversed the river built the harbor lock. Each section of the fountain represents a different waterway affected when we reversed, from the Great Lakes to the Gulf of Mexico. So really cool design. Another cool design though, over on our left hand, black and silver striped triangular building. That is the Swiss Hotel, designed by Harry Weitz, another big name in architecture. Weitz loved triangle. He has another triangular building downtown. The Cook County Metropolitan Correctional Facility, the prison. Don't stay in that one. I recommend the Swiss. They'll let you leave. Behind that, though, with the wavy balconies is one of my favorites. That's Aqua, 2010 postmodern design from local Jeannie Gang. She is a rock star architect. When it was built, Aqua was named World Building of the Year, Jeannie Gang Architect of the Year, and as it stands, Aqua is the tallest building in the world from a lead female architect. Real power! Hashtag feminism. The balconies are also super cool. they do for the stabilization of the building. The higher you go, the stronger the wind gets. We're talking like 60-mile-an-hour winds up there. The balcony super by the wind. The shape swoops the wind off, sends it another direction, bringing it down about 15 miles an hour, which is windy but more manageable. Now we are in better sight of Michigan Avenue Bridge. We're about to get a break from the sun here as well. Beginning of the Magnificent Mile starts here at the river, goes north for 7/8 of a mile. It is magnificent though, so the name is half true. And before I get to the big boy here, don't you worry, I will. First, on the right, the white ornate building with the clock tower. That's the Wrigley building, like the gum company, or the ball field, if you prefer. Built in the early 1920s by Graham Anderson Probst and White, that is a neoclassical style called the Beaux-Arts. B-E-A-U-X, it's French, they love their vowels over there.
Beautiful.
Actually, across the river, London Guarantee and Accident, with the little cupola on top, also Beaux-Arts from the 20s. It was a very popular style here back then. A lot of big-name architects like Ray Sullivan and Daniel Burnham believed that it was elegant and sophisticated. And now they're going to play a song for a second. But the elegant and sophisticated was the image of Chicago we were trying to create. Wrigley, though, is in fact one of the first buildings built on Michigan Avenue north of the river post-fire.
So
Meant to be a beacon to draw other developers into the neighborhood. And it seems to have worked because, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, the second tallest building in Chicago, the International Hotel and Tower. Built in 2009, designed by Adrian Smith of Skidmore, Owings & Merrill, Chicago-based firm, so kind of a big deal. Trump Tower is a wonderful example of postmodern architecture, a style that references and reflects the environment, literally reflecting with the mirrored windows, also referencing with the setbacks. Lowest one here in the 16th floor, same height as the Wrigley building next door. Second setback for London Guarantee across the river. Third setback for the former IBM building of Steve Vanderohe coming into view on the right, the black one. Fourth setback for the Aon Center that I mentioned a moment ago. Adrian Smith is a prolific architect. He also designed the Burj Khalifa in Dubai, tallest building in the world right now, about 2,700 feet tall. Looks like a bunch of Trump towers all stacked together. He was designing them around the same time, actually. Now, I know y'all want to know about those cool round ones, but I need you to bear with me for the boring black one first, all right? On our right, the former IBM building I mentioned in the Netherlands, Vanderohe design, his tallest and his last in Chicago. This is the epitome of modernism. That is what he thought a beautiful building should look like.
Wow.
Not everyone agrees with him. I'm kind of on the fence about it. But he had a student, no, a protege who disagreed. Bertrand Goldberg believed that nature should influence architecture. So right next door to his teacher's building, Goldberg built Marina City. Ooh. Oh. Lovingly known in Chicago as the Corn Cob Towers. It's not designed to look like corn. They just absolutely look like corn. In fact, they're designed to resemble rose petals, made out stacked into the sky. It's almost romantic. Still looks like corn, though, doesn't it?
Yep.
We're Midwestern City. What do you expect? The real beauty of Marina City, though, it is a city within a city. That was the whole point. Built in 1964, people just weren't living downtown anymore. Cars were more affordable, suburbs were more affordable. They were living outside of the city, commuting in for work. Goldberg thought that was a mistake. You should live in the city, the center of culture and commerce. So we built something with everything they needed in one place to draw them back. Boat docking, car parking, shopping, dining, a laundromat, a bowling alley, a bank, their own movie theater, which is now the House of Blues, so you can still see a show there.
Cool.
And now, next on our right is a little history. It's sad history, so you've been warned. The red brick building coming up here is the Reed Murdoch Center, and it is built in 1914, the oldest building that we'll see on our tour. Used to have an old blue-collar cafeteria in there, so working dudes could get a cheap lunch. Big industrial-sized freezers, of course, to keep the food cold. On July 24th, 1915, the SS Eastland, a cruise ship, was docked directly across the river here, and it capsized. 844 people drowned. Needed somewhere to put those bodies on a hot day. Industrial-sized freezers. building is super haunted.
840.
Don't worry, I got good news. In the last 15 years, the Chicago River has been upgraded from toxic to just hazardously polluted. Thanks in part to buildings like 300 North LaSalle, the Glass Tower is LEED certified platinum, highest sustainability rating a building can get. This one actually sucks river water in for their heating and cooling, filters it, and spits it back out cleaner than it was before.
Wow.
That's amazing. Also amazing, in a LEED certified gold building, the Art Deco behemoth on our right. This monster is the merchandise
Holy
line,
cow.
built in 1929, financed by Marshall Field. He's one of the heads out front, along with other department store tycoons like Woolworth and Montgomery Ward. When this was built, it was one of the largest buildings in the world. Today, still one of the largest in Chicago. 4.2 million square feet, 7 miles of hallway. Secretaries and stock boys wore roller skates to get around. You can fit 5,250 of my one-bedroom apartments in there. Wrigley Field and Comiskey. It's Comiskey. Both at the same time. Until 2008, that building had its own zip code. It's basically a mall. You can go shopping in there now. It's got its own elf down and everything. But now, folks, welcome to Jurassic Park. Obviously not. This is Wolf Point, this whole area here where the three branches of the river come together. Main branch, North Branch, South Branch. But more importantly, this is where Chicago was born, for all intents and purposes. Back in 1833, our settlers got together in a tavern and voted to become the town of Chicago. 4 years later, 1837, our population had grown. They voted again to incorporate, become the city of Chicago. A lot of development here the last few years as well. Wolf Point Towers going up behind you on the right. And then these two beauties just finished last fall. On the right with the parabolic arch at the bottom there, that's River Point Towers. It's one of my new favorites because it looks like a giant Hot Pocket sleeve.
It does.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Right? Do you think it's meatball or Philly cheesesteak? It's pepperoni. Who are we kidding? They're always pepperoni. Probably still frozen in the middle, though.
There are some beautiful
Now,
buildings. Look
the
at
next
this thing.
building on our right that also finished last fall, they said this block could never be built. It's too small. It was shaped real funny. There's trains underneath. Ha ha ha! Look at us now.
Wow.
50 North Riverside Plaza. Some of the most amazing engineering I have ever seen. This angled section, huge steel I-beams here. It's called the Cantilever Truss. That's doing most of the work. But you remember what I mentioned, tall buildings in the wind, right? This has something for that too. There are big water tanks inside at the top. So when the wind blows one way, the water kind of sloshes the other, helping to stabilize and dampen the sway of that building, putting less stress on an already very skinny little popsicle neck.
I see that.
Amazing.
I know.
You're like kind of good at math. Go into engineering and they're very rewarding skills.
Yep.
Life advice
I'll get it.
tour guide. But I mentioned Art Deco a moment ago. That's my favorite style of architecture. Very popular in the 20s and 30s. Easily recognized by strong vertical lines. And of course, I have some examples. Two great ones actually on either side after Washington Boulevard. Here on your left is the beautiful Civic Opera Building. Over on your right, lovely 2 North Riverside Plaza, or the old Daily News Building. Pretty Carl Sandburg fans? That's where he was working, writing about Chicago. His Chicago gave us one of our lesser-known nicknames, the City of Big Shoulders. I like it. But both Art Deco, both built in the 20s, both financed, paid for by one guy, Samuel Insull, a railroad baron, owned most of the freight lines
Civic
here.
Opera Building.
Some of the utilities, too, like gas and electric. He's considered the inspiration for the Monopoly Man, owned the utilities and the railroad. But the Opera Building is actually nicknamed for him. Some folks know it as Insull's Throne. And I mean, look at it. It looks like a super huge, super uncomfortable chair, doesn't it? And if King Insull were to sit on his giant, uncomfortable throne, he'd be looking west out over his kingdom. And I don't mean the building up here. This is the gateway.
The Mercantile
Gateway
Exchange.
1, 2, 3, and 4. All 4 from Skidmore, Owings, and Merrill. I told you they were a big deal. When I say kingdom, though, I mean what's underneath. There are trains down there. Metro and Amtrak trains now, commuter lines, but they used to be Insull's freight lines. He owned all of this. man was filthy, stinking rich. There's an old saying, all railroads lead to Chicago. He benefited pretty heavily, but it wasn't enough. He wanted to make more money without selling that property, so he took an old Roman common law. He who owns the land owns the air above to heaven and the earth below to hell. Argued it was his land, it was his air, so he sold the air for development. He invented what we see here. This is called air rights, literally the right to the air. The pillars underneath, most important part, they're called caissons, and they are the foundation for the building. Instead of a big slab of concrete, it's these steel and concrete pillars, evenly spaced, distributing the weight of the building, but leaving enough room for the trains to move underneath. It is genius innovation in engineering and architecture. You'll find it all over the world, but it started here in Chicago.
Look at how tall that is.
Let me break this up with a little bit of pop culture. It's not all architecture, history, and bad jokes, just most of it. But the glass building with a curve, Gateway 4 on the right there, was in a movie. The Dark Knight, one of the best Batman movies ever made.
Oh, yeah.
Opening sequence, Joker's goons blast out a window, launch a zip line to the bank they robbed and shoot each other. Gateway 4 is the office building that they started at. I have more, admittedly, better Batman references in a little bit, but folks, get your cameras ready, stretch your necks, this is what you came to see, the one, the only, Sears Tower!
Wow. That's crazy.
The crowd going wild, right?
You got it?
Make sure you're smiling and waving. There are people in those glass boxes taking pictures of you, taking pictures of them, taking pictures of you.
Oh, those glass boxes.
But that's the ledge, 103rd floor sky deck. Has anybody been to the ledge? It's nuts, isn't it? It's like 1,300 feet from those glass bottoms to the street down below. It's really only the last foot that matters, though. Now, let me address what I call the building. It's the Sears Tower. I know, it is spelled W-I-L-L-I-S, but the W is silent. With a Chicago accent, it's pronounced Sears.
Yeah, of course.
I don't really care what you call it. If you ask for directions to the Willis Tower, I'll tell you how to get there. Take it to work. But I'll explain the name change. That's what I find folks are most confused about. Like, they know it was the tallest building in the world.
That's
They know
huge.
it's still the tallest in Chicago, 1,451 feet to the roof, and 10 I don't count to the official height because they weren't part of the original design. But why did we rename one of the most iconic buildings in the world? Money. Specifically the recession, 2008. Normally, whoever owns the most floor space has the naming rights. In the early 70s, when she was built by Skidmore, Owings & Merrill, until 2009, that was Sears. But they couldn't afford all that floor space after the recession, took their offices out. Couldn't sell the floor space, so they made the deal more attractive by offering the naming rights to whoever bought the most. Willis, an insurance firm from the UK, bought a whopping 4 floors. In a 110-story building, they have the naming rights till 2025. I get it though, wanting to name a building after yourself?
Yeah.
Gila Tower sounds awesome. But really, if I had that kind of money, I'd just rename it the Sears Tower. I'd be a hero. I'd get a parade, a key to the city, a day named after me. Scarlett Johansson would play me in the movie.
Look at the Boeing logo.
I gotta be realistic on it. But I wanna come back to North here, because this is also an historic building. This is the very first air rights building ever built. Those trains continue under there. And it is one of the first buildings to face the river. Built in the 20s, the river was still real gross, and no one really wanted anything to do with it. So turning the plaza this way was actually a really bold move at the time. The Opera Building, on the other hand, is a better example of our attitude towards the river back then, because this is the back of the building. There are some buildings that didn't even put windows on the riverside until years later when it was cleaned up. And I mentioned that it was Insull, the railroad guy who paid for the Opera House, built an opera house not a train station. I thought that was weird when I first started. I looked into it, turns out Insull loved opera. Wife was an opera singer, daughter was an opera singer, at least one of his mistresses was an opera singer. The man loved opera, singers, apparently. But his wife went to New York to audition for the Metropolitan Opera. She was terrible. Moved all the way back to Chicago, poor girl. Husband didn't like that, so like any good husband would,
What do you do?
built her own opera house so she'd always have somewhere to perform. I can't even get my boyfriend to take out the garbage on a regular basis. Moving on. Over on our right is an historic site. Not the buildings, they're fine, but it's the land, the location that's historic. This is where Chicago built Wigwam Hall. And in 1860 is where
Yeah.
they held the Republican National Convention, where a very important man from Illinois was nominated for the presidency. Tall, skinny guy, big ears, a beard, funny hat, fought vampires. All right, that last part's not true. Abraham Lincoln, everybody's favorite president. He's on the $5 bill, the worthless penny, and I think now there's a Starbucks there. Honest Abe would have loved the pumpkin spice latte. There's real pumpkin in it now. That's truth in advertising. Hey,
This
there's
building,
also a flag.
that's
We're
crazy,
not that
isn't
bad.
it?
Make sure you take a peek at the Upright Bridge on our left.
Upright Bridge.
Here. And it's the old Kinsey Street Bridge. All the bridges downtown open. That one never closes. The old railroad bridge went out of use about 20 years ago. It's expensive to tear them down and scrap them, so the city saved money by leaving it up. And now it has become a very popular spot for wedding photography. Dozens of bridal parties all summer long. I'll probably take pictures there when I get married.
Look.
Someday.
I'm getting
He
all
knows I do that. He hates it. Oh, look at the deer. It's a nice abrupt subject change, right? It's called deer. There's not a lot to it, actually. No, like, special reason. It was added a few weeks ago, and it's just part of a push for public art downtown. There was a big mural over by Michigan Avenue, the Architecture Foundation dock. There's, I think the gold letters are still across the river from Trump Tower. It says real fake. Super coincidence that those are up there. I don't think there was any alternative motive. But I do want to make sure I give a shout out to 333 West Wacker, the blue and green stripe building with the curved front here, because that is another movie building. Ferris Bueller's Day Off. One of the greatest Chicago movies ever made. If you haven't seen it, go home and watch it tonight. It's hilarious. That is the office building that Ferris's dad worked in when he watches the parade from his office.
Yep.
The building overlooked the parade route. That was a real parade. The producers just kind of commandeered it for a little while. Funny thing though, that parade, the German parade, only happens on Saturday. So if Ferris and his friends were ditching school and ended up at that parade,
they weren't in
they
school.
weren't actually ditching school. I just blow your mind and ruin the movie at the same time. You're welcome. Let me do some more movies though, because we're pretty known for that. Other classics like The Blues Brothers, The Fugitive, The Hunter with Steve McQueen. He drove a car out of the Meridian City Parking Project in the river in that one.
Oh, wow.
Some more recent stuff, some of the Transformers movies, those Divergent movies. The movie Musical Chicago was filmed in Toronto though.
Look at that. The Magnificent Mile. I see why
let's be
it's...
real, get back to Batman. We're basically Gotham at this point after all. And this is actually going to relate to the Riverwalk here, because it didn't used to look like this. It was really just gross, quite frankly. It's only the last 3 years or so that we've come to what this is. Used to be able to see all the way through past those arches, past the wall, to the other side where there was a road called Lower Wacker Drive. Lower Wacker is where they filmed the big chase scene in The Dark Knight. Joker shoots the rocket launcher in the Batmobile, and that awesome motorcycle spits out. You recognize the big pillars down there right away. It's both awesome and terrifying to drive on Lower Wacker. But I've got a better Batman reference. Straight ahead of us, blue and silver striped building says Wyndham on top. Right underneath Wyndham are floor-to-ceiling windows.
That's fine.
That was Bruce Wayne's penthouse in The Dark Knight. Right through the fundraiser for Harvey Dent, the Joker showed up, threw Maggie Gyllenhaal out the window. Second best part of that movie. I don't like Maggie Gyllenhaal. That's really hard. I bet she's real nice. But I've got a different kind of pop culture for you. Coming up on the right with the dark gray building and the silver bits in the windows there.
Yeah.
That's the Leo Burnett building, and you might not know the name Leo Burnett, but you'll know names that they're responsible for, like Tony the Tiger, the Pillsbury Doughboy, Snap, Crackle, Pop, Rice Krispies, Toucan Sam, the Green Giant, the Marlboro Man, and technically Don Draper. They're an ad agency, and in the 60s they had an executive there named Draper Daniels, who left Leo Burnett and started his own firm.
Wow.
And that is the inspiration for the show Mad Men. Don't know if Draper Daniels was as handsome as John Hamm, but I like to think there's some reality in that casting. And the gray bits I want to make sure I mention, because those are a reference to the pencils, the silver cap ends of the pencils that all the artists were using.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a nice little shout out. But I can do better than silver, because up ahead on the right there's gold. Real 24-karat gold leaf on top of the carbide and carbon building. It is leaf. It's very thin. It's not worth it. No climbing buildings are hanging out of windows, all right? I've thought about it, you guys. Student loans are rough. But carbide and carbon was built in the late 1920s as a response to Prohibition. The architects thought Prohibition was dumb, because it was. So they built a giant champagne bottle. now home to the Hard Rock Hotel. Very fitting. Another Prohibition-era building, though, on your right, square one, with the cupolas on the corners, big dome in the center. The Jewelers Building, the wholesale jewelry exchange. They bought and sold like metals and gems there. But in the 20s, it was dangerous to walk from your car into the building with a bag of diamonds. So they installed a car-sized elevator. You can drive right into the building, drive to your floor, and then unload. Much safer.
Oh,
But someone else was using that elevator. Alphonse Capone, the original Scarface, the greatest mayor Chicago never had. He had a speakeasy called the Stratosphere Lounge, and the dome at the top used the car elevator to smuggle in booze. Had to be discreet. Jewelers Building is only 2 blocks from City Hall. You all know how seriously we took Prohibition here, right? But we're back again to Michigan Avenue Bridge. You'll see on this side it only says Du Sable Bridge, not Du Sable. That's that Chicago accent again. The bridge was renamed a few years ago for Jean-Baptiste Du Sable, Chicago's first permanent non-indigenous resident. He was Creole, French African, hence the French name.
This is crazy,
A fur trader. He said he was built his cabin.
It's too much to take in.
A pretty elaborate trading post over here on the left at what used to be the mouth of the Chicago River. And you're probably thinking, oh, that's so cool. They're building a museum for him. No, that's going to be an Apple store. Historic sites get Starbucks and Apple stores. We know what's really important. Behind that, though, is an historic building. There's Tribune Towers, the kind of Art Deco striping. 1925 Howells and Wood. Gorgeous neo-Gothic ornamentation at the top. And something cool you should check out at the bottom of the building, too. Back in the 20s, the Tribune was being run by Colonel McCormick, and he was a weirdo. He had a policy for his reporters that was basically, write a piece, bring a piece. So, young man, if you were going to Cairo to write a story for the Trib, it was part of your job to chip off a piece of the Great Pyramid and smuggle it home. Very illegal to do that now. Don't do that. You'll go to jail forever. But back then, nobody cared. So there are pieces, over 100 different landmarks, buildings, and monuments stolen from around the world, built into the wall outside at ground level. It's all labeled. You walk up and touch it. It's free. It's awesome. Piece of the Great Pyramid, shame on you. Also, the Great Wall of China, the Colosseum, the Holy Roman Door of St. Peter's Cathedral, the Mammoth Cave, Lincoln Zoo, Taj Mahal, Berlin Wall, World Trade Center. They even used to have a moon rock. Sorry, space gets me excited. It's the final part here. Oh, and no one stole a moon rock from the moon. I don't even know how you pull that off. NASA loaned those out for display. Our lease ran up, unfortunately, so we don't have it anymore. They took it back. But after we clear Columbus Drive here, we'll only have one more bridge to go, and I want you guys to do me a favor, because coming up on the right again is going to be Aqua, and I want you to look at it, not just because I love it, I think it's beautiful, I want to live there, and Jeannie Gang is my hero. That's all true. But the reason I want you to take another look is because things are going to change for Aqua next few years. Admittedly, not the building. She's only 7 years old, way too young for a facelift. But the status of Aqua will change. Because by 2020, there will be a new tallest building in the world from a lead female architect. Here in Chicago, along the Chicago River, 2 blocks east of Aqua. Vista Tower. Or Wanda Vista, if you like. Wanda Group's a Chinese company with the naming rights. Flows off the tongue, sounds pretty. I am so pumped for this building. I've been following it on architecture forums for years. I'm a huge nerd. You can come back in a few years or just Google it if you want. It's going to be gorgeous. It's like kind of 3-tiered, almost wavy blue glass design, postmodern. Some hotel access, but largely residential. So if anybody's thinking about moving downtown Chicago, studios in 1 bedroom start at $1 million. There's not even enough of us on the boat to all afford that if we live together. That's ridiculous. Coming in at just under 1,200 feet, though, it will be the new 3rd tallest in Chicago. Oh, you guys, you want to turn around and see what we just managed to miss? Ah! Good job, Captain. Good job. It goes off every hour, top of the hour for 5 minutes. Looks like a missed torrential downpour.
I had to make up for when we got hit on our first tour this morning.
We definitely got hit on the first
Oh,
tour.
really?
The back of the boat. I saw it started to jet, and I was like, nope.
That's good we missed it.
You guys would like go home and change. I have to be here all day. But Vista not only Like I said, it'll be the new third tallest, bumping Aeon to number 4 and the Hancock Center down to number 5. And poor Jeannie Gang is going to lose her spot. No, she's not. Wanda Vista's her design too. Sorry, she's my favorite. She could design every building in the city from now on, for all I care. She's got a great TED Talk. She's got this philosophy of like recreating a sense of community in urban high-rise, and she's really very brilliant, and she's local, so that's always nice to champion our own, you know? But let me tell you a quick story about Lakeshore Drive Bridge. It's a weird one. In 2004, Chicago police found a homeless man, Richard Dorsey, living under the bridge. Living in the bridge is the best way to put it, because he was like all up in the mechanism over here. He had a bed, table, chairs, a couch. He had tapped into the bridge's electric system. He had a space heater, a microwave, a mini fridge, a television, and a PlayStation 2. I had a phone with a cord on it in my first college dorm. He had lived there for 3.5 years, and a bunch of his buddies had moved in. It was like a small 3-apartment complex. What I'm really getting at, if you can't afford Vista, there are cheaper alternatives in the Please don't live under bridges. Don't be trolling. But we're coming back out into the Ogden Strip. Lot gates are opening. This timing has been nice. I shouldn't have said it.